to the second round edition of our prep football video preview. I'm Gazette Sports Editor, joined by Richard Walker, Philip Gardner. We're going to talk about a few of the matchups here in the second round of the high school playoffs. To start out with, Phil, Bessemer City has a 3-hour road trip to go to Swain County for their second round game. It's a 5 seed against a 4 seed. Should be, a pretty good matchup. How do you see that one?
I think if Bessemer would have beat Lincoln in that last game, it would have been the other way around. It would have been Swain County probably coming down to Bessemer City. But nonetheless, I think a 3-hour road trip is a chance for a team to get focused. Coaches talk about the disadvantages of going on the road. I think this team can sort of gel it together on this 3-hour road trip and get focused on the game, because there's nothing else to do on that bus while you're on your way up there. Bessemer has definitely been playing well. I thought last week was a statement for them. Defense continued to play well, and the offense, I think, really played well. Also, Xavier Logan accounting for 3 touchdowns in that game. So I think they got a pretty good shot this week.
And 2 Lincoln County schools still alive. Lincolnton goes to Carver in the 2 small A, and East Lincoln hosts West Stokes in the 2 big A. Richard, just talk about the success of Lincoln County football over the last few years.
It is remarkable. The last several years we seem to be having this conversation this time of year about those 2 teams, and it's kind of curious because when North Lincoln was built and opened, 8 or 9 years ago, the conventional wisdom would tell you that it would weaken both East Lincoln and Lincoln, and it seems to kind of been the other effect. I mean, I would argue this side of Lincoln's run to 2 straight state title games in the early 90s with the Charles Briggs, Anwar Wyatt, that crowd. This is as good as Lincoln County football has ever been, particularly at those 2 schools. Lincoln has it's interesting. I mean, Phil and I saw Carver, I guess, back-to-back years when they had enormous size Division I players. I don't think this kind of Carver team is that big and physical, but Lincoln would certainly be vulnerable to a team with a great deal of size up front. But, and East Lincoln plays West Stokes. They've been there, they've done that. They expect to win. I feel confident about East Lincoln winning, and then they'll play the winner of that Newton Conover Bandy's game. And it's interesting that, I think the momentum, I mean, they've evolved into the way kind of the 2 of us growing up in Cleveland County, Shelby almost every year, it almost didn't matter what the talent was. And Lincoln and East Lincoln have been that way lately. I mean, certainly they have talented players, but the kids at the school feel a sense of entitlement to being this far in the playoffs and this far along in the playoffs, and they're doing it again this year, and I think Lincoln County fans should, particularly those 2 schools, should be thankful that they're living through as glorious a time in their football history of the county.
And obviously the big matchup, South Point goes to Forest View in a rematch. 2 county rivals going head-to-head. Forest View got their first win in school history over South Point, 21-20 earlier this season. Phil, talk about that when you saw the first matchup. Maybe break that one down a little.
I don't think you can pick a winner this time based on what happened last time, because either team could have won and they had their shots, but Forest View was going up. They should have had a 2-touchdown lead in the third quarter. End up moving back, settling for a field goal, which was blocked. South Point then scores on 80-yard touchdowns. All of a sudden, it's a tie ball game. Same time, South Point should have won. Late in the fourth quarter, they had the ball. All they had to do was run the clock out, and they couldn't do it. Forest View ended up making a winning drive around 70 yards, about 2 minutes to play. So it was just a crazy game. Just went back and forth. I don't know if they can top the drama this time, just because that game was so crazy. Here we are on Tuesday recording this video. I haven't made up my mind yet who I think is going to win that game. I think it's that evenly matched. Part of me says South Point has the revenge factor going on. They're going to really be up for this game. But Forest View wants it just as much as South Point does, and they have the confidence of having beat them the last time.
And Richard, obviously you've seen football around here for a long time. Just talk about the impact of that being a second round matchup. How the crowd's probably going to be huge and things like that.
Well, Forest View came in and hit the ground fairly quickly running. I think their second year they were a playoff team and won the old Southwestern Conference Championship. But we talked about it ad nauseum in our newspapers and on these videos about them being 0-10 against South Point, them being 0-8 in the playoffs. So this, I feel like, and it's not unlike what they went through last year with basketball, is a chance for that school to kind of rub shoulders on even terms with their rival teams. And last year, Forest View basketball got to the state finals in both boys and girls. They were able to beat Ashbrook and Huss, who were the other 2 good teams in the league. Now in football, they've got a chance to make a statement against South Point. I think this is really big for the Forest View community, which, again, it's still a young community. I mean, we were talking about this before we taped this, about how, there are no large Forest View fan base of alumni. I mean, it's really kind of offshoot of both Ashbrook Heights and a small bit of South Point old fans based on where Forest View's district is. And a win like what they got earlier in the year when they beat South Point and this Friday would really go a long way to establishing their identity and developing more fans. I suspect, like you said, Phil, I think it's going to be a terrific game. I could see either side winning. I sense from the fans when the scores were announced rooting interest for Ashbrook, but that's natural too because Ashbrook beat them. Mm-hmm. And I didn't sense it so much as we want to avoid South Point as that we want another shot at Ashbrook from their fan base. And their coach and their players were very subdued. Even after winning the first playoff game in the history of the school, it was like, all right, well, now we got South Point coming up again. And I sensed even a focus from them immediately after that game, which should bode well for them. But obviously, South Point has a tradition. They're going to bring probably more fans, I'm guessing, this time than they brought last time. But for Forest View, this is a chance for them to really put themselves on even footing with another county rival because, it was 0-8, now it's 1-8. But 2-8 would be a very loud second victory, and they know it, and South Point knows it. So I look forward for a terrific game at Forest View, and you're fortunate you're going to get to go.
And we'll have coverage all through the week at GazzetteGazette.com and in print, and we'll see you next week.